Sable Kirby had exactly 47 seconds to decide whether her son would live or die. The voice on the phone was calm, almost pleasant, the kind of voice that might sell you artisan coffee or recommend a good wine. "Mrs. Kirby, I'm going to make this extraordinarily simple. You have 3 days to kill Dax Merrick or we kill your son. We'll start with his fingers. Then we'll get creative." Sable's hand trembled against the steering wheel of her Volvo. Through the windshield, she could see the entrance to Lincoln Preparatory, where 12-year-old Finch was finishing debate club practice. Any minute now, he'd walk through those doors with his lopsided grin and his backpack hanging off one shoulder. "I'm not a killer," she whispered. "Then you're a mourner, your choice." The line went dead. Sable sat in the silence of her car, her reflection ghost-like in the rearview mirror. At 42, she was a tax attorney who wore sensible heels and kept her dark hair in a perpetual bun. She'd never even gotten a speeding ticket. And now someone wanted her to assassinate the most dangerous man in the city. Dax Merrick wasn't just a crime lord, he was a phantom. The FBI had been chasing him for 15 years. He operated behind shell corporations and proxies, never getting his hands dirty, never appearing in public. Most people weren't even sure what he looked like. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A photo of Finch at the library yesterday, red crosshairs superimposed over his chest. Then another photo, a sleek black pistol with a silencer. Then an address. How do they expect me to get close to him? She thought frantically. How does anyone? Finch emerged from the school, laughing with 2 friends. Sable's chest constricted. She'd lost her husband to cancer 3 years ago. Finch was everything, her purpose, her joy, her reason for drawing breath. That night, Sable didn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, researching. Dax Merrick. Born Dax Ashford, heir to a pharmaceutical fortune, implicated in everything from trafficking to political assassination. But never proven, never caught. And then she found it, a 7-year-old Society page photograph from a charity gala. A man in an expensive suit, face half-turned from the camera. The caption read, "Reclusive philanthropist Dax Merrick makes rare appearance." Sable stared at the image until her vision blurred. Then she made a decision. She wasn't going to kill Dax Merrick. She was going to make him want to die. Sable found the address from the text message in the industrial quarter, a converted warehouse with blacked-out windows. She arrived at midnight, as instructed, carrying nothing but her driver's license. Inside, 3 men in tactical gear searched her roughly. Then they led her down a corridor to a room where a woman with platinum hair and ice-chip eyes sat behind a steel desk. "You're late," the woman said. "Traffic," Sable replied, her voice steadier than her pulse. The woman, no introduction given, slid a folder across the desk. Inside were surveillance photos, Dax entering buildings, stepping into cars, always surrounded by security. Also included floor plans, schedules, a small vial of clear liquid labeled only with a number. "Potassium chloride," the woman explained. "Mimics a heart attack. You get close, inject him, walk away, we'll handle extraction." "Who are you?" Sable asked. "The people who have your son." "Why me? Why not use a professional?" The woman's smile was razor-thin. "Because Merrick knows professionals. He doesn't know tax attorneys from Connecticut. You're invisible. That's your weapon." Sable looked at the photos. In one, Merrick was stepping out of a black Mercedes, and for the first time, she saw his face clearly. Mid-50s, sharp features, iron gray hair, eyes that suggested he'd seen every betrayal coming before it happened. "How am I supposed to get close to him?" "You'll audition," the woman said. "Merrick is opening a private art gallery, very exclusive. He's personally interviewing consultants. We've arranged for you to be on the list, Sable Kirby, independent art appraiser. You meet him, gain his trust, find your moment." "I don't know anything about art." The woman slid another folder across. "You have 48 hours to learn. Study this. Memorize it. Be convincing or Finch loses more than fingers." Sable took the folder with numb hands. Back home, she didn't study the art appraisal materials. Instead, She pulled out her phone and made a call to an old law school friend who now worked in cybersecurity. "Quill, I need a favor, a big one, and you can't ask questions." 20 minutes later, Quill sent her a file. Everything he could find on Dax Merrick's digital footprint, which wasn't much, but it included something interesting. A pattern of charitable donations, all anonymous, all to children's hospitals. Millions of dollars. Sable's mind began to turn. The people who'd taken Finch weren't law enforcement. They were too sophisticated, too ruthless. They were rivals. They wanted Merrick dead, and they needed a nobody to do it so it couldn't be traced back to them. But what if there was a fourth option, one they hadn't considered? The gallery occupied the top floor of a converted bank building in the financial district. All glass and white space and angular art that probably cost more than Sable's house. She'd memorized the art appraisal materials, but more importantly, she'd memorized everything about Dax Merrick's donations. His weaknesses, his blind spots. A man in a dark suit, security, clearly escorted her to a private viewing room. And then Dax Merrick walked in. In person, he was smaller than she expected but more present. The kind of man who absorbed all the oxygen in a room without trying. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost 5 figures, and when he shook her hand, his grip was firm but not aggressive. "Mrs. Kirby, thank you for coming." His voice was cultured, neutral. "I've reviewed your credentials. Impressive work with the Hartford collection." Sable had never worked on any Hartford collection. The credentials were fabricated by her captors. But she nodded. "I was fortunate to be involved." For 20 minutes, they discussed art. Sable held her own, barely, deflecting questions with careful ambiguity. Merrick was testing her, she realized. Not just her knowledge, but her character. Then he asked, "Why do you want this position?" This was the moment. Sable met his eyes, cool gray, analytical, and made her gamble. "Because I'm being blackmailed to kill you, and I'm hoping you can help me save my son instead." The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Merrick's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture. His security guard stepped forward, hand moving inside his jacket. Merrick raised one finger. The guard froze. "Explain," Merrick said quietly. Sable did everything. The phone call, the photos, Finch. The vial of poison currently hidden in her jacket lining. She spoke quickly, precisely, the way she presented cases in court. When she finished, Merrick was silent for a long moment. Then he said something she didn't expect. "Show me a picture of your son." Shaking, Sable pulled out her phone. Finch at his last birthday, chocolate cake smeared on his chin, laughing. Merrick studied the photo. When he looked up, something almost human flickered across his face. "I had a son once," he said softly. "He was 12, leukemia." He handed back the phone. "The people who took Finch, they're the Kale Syndicate, Eastern European. They've been trying to eliminate me for 2 years. Can you help me?" Merrick walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. "If I help you, they'll know you told me. They'll kill your son immediately." Sable's world tilted. "Then what do I?" "You do exactly what they asked," Merrick interrupted. "You kill me." "You're insane," Sable whispered. Merrick turned from the window, and now she saw something new in his eyes, strategy. Not insane, practical. "The syndicate won't release Finch until I'm confirmed dead, so we give them a death, just not a real one." He made a phone call. Within 30 minutes, a woman arrived, Dr. Vesper, no first name given. She was maybe 35, with surgical precision in every movement. "Tetrodotoxin derivative," Dr. Vesper explained, setting a titanium briefcase on the gallery table. "It'll simulate death, no pulse, no respiration for approximately 6 hours, long enough for a coroner's examination if they're not too thorough." "And if they are thorough?" Sable asked. "Then I die for real," Merrick said simply. "But the syndicate won't risk an autopsy. They'll want my body cremated immediately to destroy evidence." "This is madness," Sable breathed. "This is chess," Merrick corrected. "They took your son to control you. We turn that control into a weapon." He looked at Dr. Vesper. How long do you need? For preparation, 2 days. We'll need to stage it perfectly, witnesses, documentation, emergency response. It has to be believable. Merrick nodded, then turned to Sable. The syndicate will be watching you. You need to act terrified, desperate. Can you do that? Sable thought of Finch. Yes. Good. In 48 hours, you'll attend a private event here at the gallery. You'll approach me with a glass of champagne. The derivative will be in your ring, a modified poison ring, spring-loaded. 1 scratch is all it takes. I'll collapse within minutes. And then you run. Play the panicked assassin. My people will make sure you're seen fleeing. The syndicate will believe their plan worked, and they'll release Finch to tie up loose ends. What about you? Merrick smiled thinly. 6 hours after death, I wake up in the morgue. My people will be waiting. We extract, regroup, and then we dismantle the syndicate piece by piece. It was insane. It was brilliant. It was their only chance. Dr. Vesper spent the next 48 hours with Sable, teaching her how to use the poison ring, how to make it look natural, how to control her breathing when the panic came. Meanwhile, Merrick's organization moved like a shadow army, setting up witnesses, bribing the right officials, creating a paper trail that would satisfy the syndicate's scrutiny. On the night of the gallery event, Sable wore a black dress and the poison ring. Her hands were ice. Around her, collectors and art enthusiasts mingled, oblivious. Merrick appeared at exactly 9 o'clock. Their eyes met across the room. Sable picked up a champagne flute and walked toward her target. The poison ring worked exactly as promised. Sable bumped into Merrick, apologized profusely, and in the confusion of steadying themselves, she scratched the back of his hand, so quick, so subtle that no one noticed. 3 minutes later, Dax Merrick collapsed. The room erupted into chaos. Sable played her part perfectly, the horrified guest, backing away, then running for the exit. Security didn't stop her. They were too focused on the dying man on the floor. She drove home in a fugue state, hands shaking so hard she could barely grip the wheel. Her phone buzzed at exactly 10:47 p.m. Unknown number. Well done. Your son will be released at the corner of 5th and Madison in 1 hour. Come alone. Tell no one. If we see anyone else, he dies anyway. Sable arrived at the location 45 minutes early and waited in the shadows. At 11:47, a black van pulled up. The door slid open, and Finch stumbled out, blindfolded and zip-tied but alive. Sable ran to him, tore off the blindfold, and held him so tightly he gasped. Mom, what? SHH, you're safe, you're safe. But even as she said it, she saw the van's window roll down. The platinum-haired woman from the warehouse smiled. Thank you for your service, Mrs. Kirby. I trust you'll keep this evening to yourself. We'd hate for anything to happen to that lovely boy. The van drove away. Sable took Finch home, fed him, put him to bed. He asked questions. Where had he been? Who were those people? Why? But she deflected with promises to explain later. Eventually, exhaustion claimed him. At 3:00 a.m., Sable's phone rang. It's done, Merrick's voice said. He sounded tired but alive. I'm out. The syndicate thinks I'm ashes. What happens now? Now we finish this. I've spent 15 years building an empire they want to steal. They made it personal when they involved your son. His voice hardened. With your help, I have everything I need. The warehouse location, the woman's face, the leverage points. Within a month, the Kale syndicate will cease to exist. And me? Sable asked. You go back to your life. You're free. I'll make sure the syndicate never connects you to my resurrection. Sable should have felt relief. Instead, she felt hollow. The woman threatened Finch, said if I talked. She won't threaten anyone ever again, Merrick said quietly. Trust me. Something in his tone made her believe him. 3 weeks later, Sable read about a series of arrests across 3 continents. International crime syndicate dismantled. Authorities announced. The platinum-haired woman's photo was among those detained. The article mentioned an anonymous tip. A package arrived at Sable's house that same day. Inside, A single piece of art, abstract but beautiful, and a note in elegant handwriting. For Finch's college fund, some doors we don't choose, they choose us. You chose the third door with courage I rarely see. If you ever need anything, you know how to find me. DM. Sable hung the painting in her living room. Finch asked about it once, and she said it was a gift from a client. She never told him that she'd walked into a gallery, intending to commit murder, and walked out having saved 2 lives. One by choosing truth, the other by choosing trust. Because sometimes the third option isn't the easy one. It's just the only one you can live with. The coffee shop on Harmon Street had become Sable's Thursday ritual. She'd arrive at exactly 4:15 p.m., order a vanilla latte, and spend an hour reviewing case files before picking up Finch from basketball practice. Today, someone was sitting in her usual corner booth. Dax Merrick looked different without the expensive suits. He wore jeans and a navy sweater, reading a paperback novel. When Sable hesitated in the doorway, he glanced up and offered the faintest smile. She approached slowly. I thought you'd be in Monaco or somewhere equally untraceable. I was, it got boring. He gestured to the seat across from him. Please. Sable sat, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. She hadn't seen him since that phone call 6 months ago. Why are you here? To say thank you, properly. He closed his book. And to tell you that the last member of the syndicate was apprehended yesterday in Prague. It's over. Completely. The weight that had been sitting on Sable's chest for half a year finally lifted. Finch is safe. Finch is safe, Merrick confirmed. You both are. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. I also wanted to tell you something else. The night I collapsed in that gallery, when I woke up 6 hours later in the morgue drawer, I had time to think about choices, about the life I'd built. And I'm retiring, liquidating the legitimate businesses, transferring them to people I trust. The rest, he made a dismissive gesture. I'm done with shadows. Sable studied his face, looking for deception, but found only sincerity. What will you do? I'm opening a foundation for children with terminal illnesses, in my son's name. His eyes held hers. I've spent 15 years being the man everyone feared. I'd like to spend the next 15 being someone a 12-year-old boy wouldn't be ashamed to know. Something warm bloomed in Sable's chest. That's a good third door. Merrick's smile was real this time, transforming his entire face. I learned from the best. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Merrick reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. This is for you, the deed to a property in Vermont, a lake house. Completely off the grid, untraceable. If you ever need to disappear, it's there. I don't want to disappear. I know, but it's good to have options. He stood, leaving the envelope on the table. Take care of yourself, Sable Kirby, and that remarkable son of yours. Wait, Sable said as he turned to leave. Will I see you again? Merrick paused, and something complicated crossed his expression. Hope, maybe, or possibility. Would you want to? Sable surprised herself by answering immediately. Yes. Then you will. He pulled out a business card, plain white, just a phone number, and set it beside the envelope. When you're ready, no pressure, no expectations, just coffee, maybe Thursday afternoons. After he left, Sable sat with the card and the envelope, her latte growing cold. She thought about the past 6 months, the nightmares that had gradually faded, the way Finch had slowly returned to his old self, the strange friendship that had been forged in the crucible of impossible choices. Her phone buzzed, a text from Finch, Mom, practice running late. Coach says maybe another hour, sorry. Sable typed back, no problem, sweetheart, take your time. She picked up Merrick's card, running her thumb over the embossed numbers. Then she pulled out her phone and saved the contact under a single letter, D. Not today, maybe not next week, but someday she'd use it. Because Sable Kirby had learned something important in that gallery 6 months ago. The best doors aren't the ones you're given. They're the ones you build yourself, with trust and courage and the willingness to believe that people can change. She tucked the card into her wallet. gathered her things, and walked out into the afternoon sun. Behind her, in the corner booth, the paperback novel Merrick had left behind lay open to a marked page. The passage read, "We are not defined by our worst moments, but by what we choose to do after them." Sable didn't see it, but somehow she already knew.